Good evening. Good evening, co-chairs. Good evening, Executive Mayor and your team that is here present. Good evening to my colleagues. My questions are particularly in fact, it's the slide that is currently on the screen. You have 3,586 officials vetted. You have 127 officials with criminal records, and you have 114 officials with pending cases. You have a total of 173. When going through your list, I was actually horrified to actually look at the kind of cases that that was involved. I'm just trying to get it on my own screen here, particularly the area where it describes, yes, so it is on slide where it actually tells you what 173 officials are involved in. Normally, okay, there's assault, theft, robbery, fraud, which is something we do. But here we come to, you have 12 officials that are 12 cases for murder. I'm going to skip these other two ones because then we come down to attempted murder, 9, statutory corruption, conspiracy to commit offence, but here we go, extortion, 7, kidnapping, 6, culpable homicide, 2. That's you know, that can happen. But specifically, we're looking at, and I think at the Madlanga Commission, it came out very clear what a lot of the officials have been doing in their spare time. It actually doesn't paint a pretty picture. In another lifetime, I was MMC for public safety, and I started a task team for corruption. Not corruption, kidnapping. And in that, I remember telling the Hawks that even in our area, that there were police officers involved in kidnapping. And it seems to have been a trend around the country. We don't know if it was spearheaded from Gauteng, and therefore all those that had to, because it seemed as though they had to kidnap 3 or 4 a week, because they were desperate. We have to get the money. We have to get the money, you know, and they were kidnapping at that stage foreigners or any, you know, some of our Muslim brothers, etc., etc. This picture doesn't paint a good picture. How have you, what strategy are you going to take in looking at your reputational risk, actually coming down hard on any of these transgressions? So that is my first question, is how deeply have you actually looked at what is happening at the Madlanga Commission, how it has affected Ekurhuleni, your reputational risk, and what are you actually doing to clean it up? So that's question number 1. My question number 2 is the former the city manager, where on the front of the Sunday Times, I think I'm not quite sure which week, I can't get it on my phone at the moment, but was, I think on the front headlines, it was private jet trip for former city manager. Can you explain, did any of you know about it? Because when you look at the security contracts, and if you look at that article clearly, we'll try and get there is an invoice for that it's part of the tender documents, or it's part of the invoices that are, and if you just give me one moment, I will actually get it for you on my phone, so that I can explain to you what the invoice was. But it seems as though money is laundered through invoices into your municipality for these kind of trips that have taken place. So that was the one area, and if you just bear with me quickly, I shall get you the actual invoice, which was on the front page. I think it was Orinx. Orinx, okay. So how have you, in your investigations, looked at those kind of invoices? Because you would have seen that article on the Sunday Times. Did you see the article? So you saw the companies, the two companies that are mentioned in that article. That is what I think the committee would like to know. Are you aware of it? Was there an investigation? Is it part of the offences that are here? Has MPAC looked at that? It did say that it was never declared by your former city manager. So those are my two main questions. I think there's quite a lot in that. But tell us, how are you dealing with it now? And what are your plans? What is your strategy? Thank you.
It will be two members at a time, and then we'll go back to them for follow-up.
No, thank you very much, co-chairs, and good evening to yourself and to colleagues from both SCOPA and PC of COCTA, and our support team, other stakeholders present, and the Ekurhuleni team, which is led by the Honorable Executive Mayor. Yeah, just a few questions from me. Previously, Honorable Executive Mayor, I remember that when you were here, your city manager was on a voluntary leave because of some matters that he is facing, which do not necessarily relate to the municipality, but he was on a voluntary leave, and then I see that today. I think there was a gentleman who was acting at the time. I see that today there's a lady who's acting as a city manager. So maybe you can, for the benefit of this committee, just tell us what happened. Is the city manager back, or is still on a voluntary leave, or is there any other decision that has been taken by the council in relation to his status? That's one. Number two, in terms of your project's delivery and performance, I see that only 6.6% of the project portfolio is completed, and the majority of funds are tied up in ongoing construction. So my question is, what are the root causes of project delays, and what concrete steps have you taken to accelerate delivery? Are you able to provide the committee with a breakdown of projects on hold, reasons for delay, and timelines for completion? And how does the city ensure value for money and prevent cost overruns in projects that have been in the construction phase for extended periods? And also related to that, also, I think your presentation shows that several projects are marked as on hold across departments. So for each on hold project, what are the specific reasons for suspension, the financial implication, and the revised timelines for resumption or closure, and who is accountable for projects delay and cost escalation? And then lastly, in relation to revenue collection and financial controls, I see that of the 2.5 billion rands in back billing that is identified, over 1.1 billion rands remains uncollected. So what are the main obstacles to collection, And what specific action have you taken to recover these funds within defined timeframes? And how does the city monitor and hold accountable those responsible for revenue leakage and delayed collections? Thanks, Chair.
Yeah, no, Chair, I think quite extensive. I'm sure the teams, they will try and be precise. You know, I can come in terms of the overall guidance and direction that we try and give to administration. And I must indicate that the revelations of Madlanga, you know, actually assisted us a lot to, you know, sort out, you know, some of the issues that, you know, have been happening in the environment, and we've been very decisive in terms of what are some of the, you know, strategies that we had to put in place. For instance, this report of the vetting is done internally, organized, you know, by the administration to do that. But there's another layer of vetting that has been done by SSA. So this has been proactive of us, not to wait for the SSA, the state security, but we should be able to look at what is happening in the environment and be able to do the corrective measures. Of course, we've got support that we've received, you know, from state security. We've got the presence of police that are actually assisting us to resolve some of these issues. Some issues you would need IPID to quickly be able to deal with them. Some of the issues are issues that HR, they should be able to deal with them. So we are monitoring. We've received now this report in greater detail. We must also process it to council, so that council can also you know, make a firm resolution in terms of what needs to be done. One of the areas that we've been you know, engaging on, because within the EMPD department there is capacity issues that we're battling with. You would know that the chief of police has since been on suspension due to allegations of sexual harassment. That case has been finalized. In fact, we expect it to be finalized now in June. He is also going on retirement. We've taken the item to council to actually give us a you know, decision to go out and get that capacity. Because policing matters, and you would have picked up from Madlanga, we're learning, we're following it very carefully in terms of how do we deal with policing discipline. You would know that our head of HR is on suspension, our head of legal is on suspension in relation to how they've been handling you know, issues that are relating to Madlanga. So there are those things that we're carefully navigating to ensure that while we have certain shortcomings, but we're able to decisively deal with them. Others, they are elevated, you know, to the team that has actually been assigned to actually work with us. The Madlanga team, the special team that has been dispatched, we're working tirelessly with them in terms of implementing some of the consequences and also advising on some of these matters that are cropping up at this level. So I wanted to just give assurance that we were working on these matters. The teams are fully engaged to actually ensure that we deal with them and deal with them decisively. The issue of the former city manager, it's a recent issue that crop up, you know, in the media. We've already now directed, because when we dealt with the 2 billion issue, we confronted it decisively ourselves. We meted consequences. We suspended the head of ICT, but we also launched a broader investigation into the ICT environment. So there's a full forensic that we've been able to get extra capacity. You know, a firm of I'm not sure you'll add which firm that we've been able to get those extensive things. Deloitte was assisting us look into those issues. But we also have state security as well that is involved. So we then expand the scope to say, please look at this issue as well, and be able to to give us feedback on, because what comes from the media, we don't want to undermine it, but we want to subject it to a process so that we then get an understanding how extensive the certain companies that have been mentioned, but we look beyond that to say, in this period, there is a category of awards that have been done in terms of professional services in the ICT environment. We then get to look at them and ensure that corrective measures are actually done. The current city manager, yes, we did indicate here that he took a voluntary leave, and then we then finalized the legal opinion because we went to council, and then council said we must get a legal opinion. So we've processed the legal opinion in the last council meeting, and we must now, council has noted that legal opinion, we need to itemize now and come back with an item to council so that council can actually make a final decision. We must indicate that the city manager has not been on suspension because we follow the DC, the regulations on senior managers, how you handle them. But he has been from time to time, just now because he's been attending, when was it, on Tuesday? He extended that leave, in fact, until Friday. We'll have to expedite the item to look into that and ensure that council, applies its mind in terms of, the implementation of or the application of the regulations on the disciplinary measures on senior management. The other issue, I'm sure that the officials will speak to it. 70% of projects are actually finalized in terms of performance. We are confident because we're now in June. This is a final leg. Projects are being finalized, and according to the indications that we have, we will be able to achieve a 95% spending or completion of those projects. So these are projects that will be handed over. Just today, Chair, we were handing over, houses, about 140 houses in a mega project in Tembisa. So we continue to hand over projects as they are completed, and at 70% performance, and a lot of certification that is actually happening, and now we're confident that we will be able to perform above 95%. Of course, there's various things that affect projects delays, and I'm sure the teams, they can actually speak to that, and including the issue of the back billing. I think we spoke to it at length the last time, but I will give the officials an opportunity to talk to it. Sinsu and your team.
Thanks, CM. Thank you. I think on the issue of the project, indeed, we are sitting at 71. What we've also have done as a city is also to activate a CAPEX war room that monitors the expenditure and the project progress, so that by the end of the financial year, we would have been sitting at 95. So we're sitting weekly with all departments, and they would then report to the CAPEX war room in terms of their project stage gate. But the final details that the members asking, and I think Acting Group CFO, who will provide those details in terms of where the projects, each department, and if there are issues that he would then be able to lift them up. Thanks.
Good evening, Chair. Yes, I think I will also comment on the invoices that were whether is the investigation ongoing at the moment, because the item was brought to our attention, I think, when it also came out into the media. So at this point in time, there are a couple of stakeholders, obvious, that are looking for that information, because there's a formal case that has been opened, and as the city, we are cooperating with the police because they've requested the procurement documents of that mentioned particular company. They've requested the invoices, all invoices payments that have been made to that company. So internally, obviously, the matter will be referred to internal audit. It's just that at the moment, I will say all parties will be fighting for that information. So we will be giving all stakeholders a chance to look into it. Is the AG, internal audit, as well as the SAPS. But SAPS have written to us, giving us a formal request of all the documentation. So some of the information has already been provided on that one. Then on the turnaround time in terms of the 2 billion, as EM has indicated that in the last time we went into great length on it. But the reason why we still have the unbilled amount is because of the turnaround time around it. Because we need to identify those compromised accounts. After identifying them, we need to reconstruct the accounts. After reconstructing the accounts, we debit, meaning we bill that particular individual, and we give you 21 days to dispute your bill. So we do have instances after 21 days, if you don't dispute your account, we initiate the credit control. But if after 21 days, maybe you lodge an objection, that's when obviously we need to look at all objection. That's why the figure on the difference is not yet built, because some of them, the accounts are being reconstructed, others are still sitting under dispute. But the aim is to make sure that we follow up and close on the total 2.4. And in cases where we've billed incorrectly, that one obviously will be flagged, because we track this thing as part of our monthly reporting to our executive, and also report on it to council on a quarterly basis. So we are working on that one. Then on the issue of some of the reasons maybe for the delay, as much as the leadership has indicated that we are on track, there's in few isolated cases we do have issues of maybe strike and contractors that are not performing satisfactory. So in such cases, obviously, engagement are happening between the department and the contractor to make sure that we speed up the process on that one. Thanks, Chair.
No, thank you, Chair. Thank you, EM. Thank you, Acting CM. Just on the issue of reputational risk, it's quite a serious matter to us. It's a issue of integrity and governance, but we have taken a few steps. First and foremost, as the revelations went along, we said we're not going to be responding to every allegation. There was a team set up within the internal audit unit that has a register of each allegation and the risk it has to the institution, and obviously those investigations are ongoing. And then we took a decision that we will be communicating on the administrative decisions that have been taken arising from Madlanga, like the executive mayor alluded, the suspension and consequence management, which we communicate on an ongoing basis. And then lastly, we are finalizing the terms of reference. We want to establish a group reputational risk committee, which will be multidisciplinary, HR, finance, and so forth, where we want to monitor weekly some of the reputational risks that are coming through. But in the main, we will be awaiting the final report from Madlanga with the recommendations. And obviously, as an institution, we've committed to working with the Madlanga Commission, and we will be implementing those recommendations and communicating from there. Thereafter, we will be taking a decision on, also we'll be conducting a brand audit towards the beginning of the next financial year to see where we stand, and then we'll be taking a decision on a scientific decision on where to for brand Ekurhuleni. But for now, we are being transparent, we're not being defensive, and we just need to get to the end of Madlanga so we can hit reset on our governance. Thank you, Chair.
All right, thank you very much. Honorable members, Kosana and Dilmay, any outstanding issues for you?
No, thank you, Chair. I have two outstanding issues. What exactly did XET Solutions do for the municipality, for the metro? The company has raked in millions from at least 5 contracts awarded by the embattled metro during Mashazi's tenure as city manager. And then what business does Ekurhuleni have with Onyx, Onyx Aviation? So those are the two companies that seem to be featured in this area. So that is something that I wanted to make sure of. The second question is, what security measures have you taken within Ekurhuleni to look at what is going on? I'm talking about, do you have security footage of your buildings? Have you changed your security structure? Have you changed all your passwords? That's what I wanted to hear. I wanted to hear, what actually have you done? I mean, not into details that actually will tell the rest of the crooks out there how how to get back in, but how have you actually looked at any other suspected members that might be there that are hiding in the shadows, because this was a structured syndicate that worked. And are there any other ties to City of Joburg? I think recently we heard there was another official that had 2 million rand in his house, okay? Now, your municipalities are so close. And, with regards to this kind of network, you might find that this network is like a spider web. It runs deep. This one is doing that on that side, that one is doing that on that side. How have you looked at cleaning up your safety and security directorate? And then, have any of the general members been interviewed? Have they been given letters to say, actually, this is your scope of practice. This is actually what you need to do. How have you actually gone into that section now? Now that you see the rot has gone right so deep, have you actually looked at the different departments? Thank you.